Hey everybody, Transition Tuesday. I'm Jane. Joe is not with us today. He had other commitments, but I do have a special guest, Dayna Holbel. She's the transition coordinator for the Emory Autism Center. And Dayna is a wealth of information, and I am so excited that you are here. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I guess we're going to jump right in. So Dayna, tell me a little bit about your job with Emory Autism Center.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am with the education and transition team at the Emory Autism Center. I think my title is technically educational consultant, but I really focus in with our individualized transition to adulthood project. That's my focus. So we have a lovely grant from the Department of Public Health, who is helping us work with schools to really build a comprehensive transition program to improve outcomes for individuals with autism. But my background is in transition, gosh, since my grad school's days. And so I have worked supporting lots of families and lots of teachers, helping lots of students have good transition outcomes for after high school.
Very important. We're all about transition around here. So when you talk about outcomes and transition, what kind of specific services could families expect to get from?
Yeah, so I'll start specifically with our team, so the education and transition team, the specific things that we can help with. And one of the things that I think is a really lovely service is we do something called goal planning meetings. So families will reach out to us, and maybe their kiddo is, ninth grade up, and they're just like trying to navigate all of the different things that they need to navigate. To figure out, maybe they're trying to figure out what their kiddo wants to do after high school, or maybe they're trying to figure out what agencies can help their kids meet their goal. Maybe they need some advice on, how can I work better with the school to get my kid what he or she needs? And so we offer a 45-minute to an hour meeting. Right now, we're doing those on Zoom. In the past, we've done them at the center, but we'll probably continue to do them on Zoom for people that's most appropriate for, if that's just more convenient. And we, sit down with the family, with the parent and the student, and really talk about what the goals are, and offer resources and connections and that sort of thing. And we usually follow up with a pretty extensive email with, details based on our discussion. And that's really helpful for parents. We also do something called transition assessments, which are really in-depth. If you almost think about a psychoeducational assessment that you get in school, it's in a way, it's a little bit like that. We have, standardized testing that we do with that we have the parents complete, rating scales more or less, and the student complete. And then we do teacher interviews, we do student observations, we do parent interviews, and student interviews, and we put all of that together in a big long report where we make recommendations for transition in the areas of everything that you'll see on a regular transition plan. So education and training, employment, community participation, everything, all those 6 there. But we do those as well. But generally at the center, we have behavioral analysts who will help young people with, behavioral issues, or just, meeting those kind of goals. So we provide that service, not my team specifically, but we do provide that at the center. We also have a program called My Life. which is right now it's virtual, but it will probably kind of go into that hybrid. I know for the fall, they're planning to be in person, but they're planning to have specific affinity classes kind of online. So I know right now they have a D&D group that's online. All of that's one of the things. But what they typically do is with their cohort is they kind of spend some time getting to know those individuals. And it's usually that young adult age group, 18 to 25, 26. They try to group the individuals close in age together. And it's all about building community skills, social skills, that sort of thing. So we offer those supports. And we do also have someone who does teen and adult assessment if you need like a new and updated assessment. That's another team. And then, of course, we do medication management. Mm-hmm. We have psychiatrists and nurse practitioners on staff who do that sort of thing. So
well, I mean, but if you think about it, every person, regardless of what their disability is different, and their needs are different, and they could go from many, many needs to not so many needs. So I guess you have to offer a broad array of services to help people with, what services they need.
Yeah, and absolutely. As I said, I realized that I neglected to mention we also do counseling. We have 2 therapists on our staff who do counseling for young adults as well.
So I think it's interesting, and I'm really glad we had a chance to talk, because I'm going to go out on a limb, but I think most parents do their transition planning through the IEP meeting. They kind of think that's where your transition plan is rooted, but it sounds to me like you're doing all the same things, with the exception of, maybe academic related goal setting. You're doing all the same things that the school setting would do in terms of transition assessments and, interest surveys and, psychological testing and all those different groups and all the different pieces. How do you work with the school, or do you work with the school when a parent comes to you for transition services? Do you go to an IEP meeting, or how does that work?
Yeah, we typically do not go to IEP meetings. We typically will connect families with resources. We would certainly share resources with a family to share with their school system. We will offer kind of general advice, like if a parent is saying, I'm just not getting anywhere with the teacher, we kind of help them navigate. Maybe they need to talk to the department chair, or maybe we need to get them connected with the right person in the administration who can support that family. But we tend to kind of make a more of a consultative role rather than in the school system role.
Well, and really it's, up to the family to support their person in their transition planning efforts. Yes, the school has a responsibility to do transition planning within the body of the IEP, but really the people who are boots on the ground are the families. So it makes sense for them to, I think it makes a lot of sense to go to sort of an expert in transition planning. Now, do you have to be a client of the Emory Autism Center, or do you just become one as you request these services, or how does that part work?
So typically what happens is that families will call the center and they get in touch with one of our intake coordinators. I think there's only one of them, Amity, and kind of just share what their needs are. And then through there, Amity will refer them out to the different departments that would be most appropriate based on the student's needs.
Okay. So I always cheat. I always send people questions ahead of time because I hate for people to be, unprepared. Not that you're an expert, so you wouldn't, but I need to be prepared. But how soon should you start with transition planning?
Well, I'll say day one. I mean,
As
when
you
your
get a
kiddo is really
diagnosis.
little, but if you haven't, don't freak out. You're fine. But it really is the little things that you can do. Okay, so let's talk about a really young kiddo, that, elementary age kiddo. They can participate in their IEP because we want our teenagers to really participate in their IEP. So maybe as an elementary student, they're bringing their favorite toy and their game, and they spend a few minutes of the IEP saying, you know what, I love to play X and I'm really good at it. And it's just about having that kiddo feel like they're part of it, part of their IEP. It helps with disability awareness. It helps with them sharing their strengths. I would really think in those lower grades, it's all about like self-awareness and which of course leads us to self-advocacy and that kind of thing. So saying, these are the things I like, these are the things I'm good at. These are some kiddos I've seen have done with the help of their parents. This is my perfect day. Like my perfect day, I get to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for breakfast or whatever, whatever it is. But, but it's building those skills and having those kids understand that this IEP is kind of about them. I mean, we work with students typically starting in 8th grade, and some of them don't even know that they have autism or they have an IEP.
Yeah.
So I just, obviously every family gets to make the decision that's right for their family, but coming from my lens, I would say start early. Start with choice making in the home, right? You're still going to decide, that they're going to wear, clothes that are clean and perfect for the season. But do you want to wear the green shirt or the blue shirt? Right? It's still choice making. Any way you can build independence in the smallest way, right? And if you've got a kiddo with a disability, that's going to be a little harder. So that's where you can use the experts at your school system to say, okay, you know what? I really want John to learn how to make his own lunch. And so what can the teacher can provide you resources with that, like visuals and checklists or strategies, or support those things at school, that kind of thing. So I would say start as early as possible. It of course gets more serious as you get older, right? And you're starting to look for like, what is next? I would think in those junior high years, you're really thinking about it, really listening to your kiddo and kind of seeing where those sparks of interest that might lead to a career or a job or anything, like, oh, wow, he really likes to do this. Maybe we can find a camp that can do that. Maybe we can volunteer as a family. My kid loves animals. Well, maybe we could walk dogs at the Humane Society or something like that, whatever, or, those kind of things, so that you're just kind of helping them have experiences that are going to fuel those ideas and to continue that on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important. Like one of the questions that I get from families a lot is about, well, I don't want to talk about disability. I want to talk about, my child. And so if you're doing that kind of self-awareness, self-determination training with your child, it doesn't have to be about what their diagnosis is. It's more about, like you said, what they like to do, what they're good at, what maybe is a little bit harder for them to do. So
sure.
I love that.
What do I need? Being able to ask for what I want, what I need, like if I need a break, being able to build those skills when your child is young is just going to serve them so much better as they get older. And that's not really just focusing on, well, I have autism, so I need a break. It's like, no, this is the way I'm going to learn best, right? Yeah. I'm going to learn best if I have time to go into bounce on this chair or whatever that is to have my sensory needs met, if that's a particular thing. I learn best when I have something written down,
Yeah, augmentative communication tools, and I was with Joe's in an self-advocacy group, and we were talking about how hard it is to say no. So we had this long discussion about it's okay to say what your preferences are, even if the preferences are more on the I don't like this side versus I do like this side. It's okay to say, no, that doesn't work for me. I mean, there's ways of doing it, and that takes practice.
Right,
So
right.
practice is such a thing for all of us, especially post-COVID. We've all forgotten how to do social skills.
Exactly.
So I know you work with an autism center, but
Mhm.
I think transition needs kind of go across the board. Are there resources that any family could use through the Emory Autism Center?
Yeah, so of course everything that we do is kind of through that lens of autism, right? Because we're the Emory Autism Center. It's our name. That's what we have to focus on. But I will tell families that, a lot of the things that we recommend are good for any kiddo with a disability. On our website, actually, and I think I shared this with you in a meeting that we were in, but we just recently put up something called our guiding questions for parents. And it is a clickable part of our website where you can look at different topic areas and you can click through, and then it will lead you directly to the resource that may be helpful for you. That's under, if you go to the Emory Autism website and then you click on the Education and Transition Services, you'll see a button, like a button that you can click that'll get you there. That's going to be helpful for all sorts of kiddos.
I'll share that too, because I do.
Yeah, it's great. And I can send you the direct link via email. Maybe.
I just think anytime you can look at something online, if you're getting ready to maybe meet with a service provider, or you're applying for a waiver, or you're working on things, it's always good to I guess I like to click on things.
Right, exactly. Well, what we hope to do, because it can be very overwhelming, you're like, I got to worry about housing, I've got to worry about college or technical school or job training, and and all those things. Well, this way we tried to break it down so you could just go there and click on one little thing and learn about that, and then come back a week later or two and learn about something else.
So that's a great point, because it can be overwhelming. When you're working with the family, do you kind of give them like a to-do list with timelines, or do you help them, instead of eating the whole elephant, just taking a little bite at a time?
Right. That's kind of why, the earlier you start, the better, because you can start to get some of these some of these tasks done earlier, rather than waiting till it is kind of crisis time. I mean, I've certainly had families that's like, oh my God, he's 21, he's going to graduate next year. And that provide, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Sorry. Little puppy needs to be let in to the room. The joys of working from home. Yes, there are no, when you're a puppy, there are no meetings. So yeah, usually we in those goal planning meetings, we figure, what are your most immediate goals? And we work on that, to kind of make it more just easier to take.
Yeah. So let's say I've done nothing for transition planning.
Okay.
And I'm watching this video and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm having a teeny panic attack. What's the first thing you can do?
Oh boy, the first thing you can do, that's a tough one. Well, take a breath. First thing, take a breath. And I always tell moms this too, sorry, dads too, but it seems like it's always moms. You are an expert on your kiddo, right? You have loved them before they were born, and you know them better than anyone else. I like to think. I have 2 kids of my own. And so really think what does my kiddo need to be successful? I start with really thinking about, what is that future dream for him or her? Is it that he's going to go to Georgia Tech? Is it that he's going to go straight to work? Is it that that's not really appropriate, and maybe he's going to go to a day program but boy, I'd really like it if you could do some volunteering a couple of days a week to like, you know, just have that kind of like sense of purpose that we all kind of like by doing good in the world, you know? So really starting with that vision of what does that perfect world life look like? Right? Because that's going to give you a lot of ideas about what your next steps are.
Mhm.
And really just kind of thinking about that in a big way, you know, and maybe involving other people in your kiddos' lives that, oh, you know what, he's really good at this. I bet, you know, he would love that. Or, you know, that kind of stuff, and kind of coming up with that vision, of course, including your student, your kiddo, but thinking about that. And then that will help you kind of decide what kind of, you know, goals you have, what kind of supports you're going to need, and that sort of thing. And then you can kind of be a little more targeted in looking in those specific areas. But you have to start with the vision.
So now I know a lot of things like your transition planning through your school IEP comes with your public education. Voc rehab services are a cost share. Is there a cost involved for transition planning through your center?
Yeah, so the goal planning meetings are $100 out of pocket, unfortunately. I do know that the transition assessments, we have gotten word through some of the family support services providers that if that service is listed in the ISP, that those funds could be used to cover that. And that is a higher cost of $1,800.
So if you have a now or comp waiver, in case nobody knows, an individual service plan is like an IEP, but for those now and comp waiver, Medicaid waiver programs for the supports and things for people with developmental disabilities. If you have a family support grant, it's possible if you plan ahead that you could get some of the costs involved. Are there any like programs like through any like autism related groups that you could maybe get some financial assistance that way if you need it?
You know, there might be, and I do know that we do have a sliding scale, and there have been times when, you know, there are a few grant funds that we can use. So if that were something that a family really needed, you know, they could certainly reach out to me, and we could talk about that, and I could get them connected with the right folks.
So one more thing.
Yeah.
So how far do you follow a family once they request services?
Well, usually, you know, we'll do that goal planning meeting if that were the case. But after that, you know, you have my phone number, you have my email. I'm never not going to answer, you know. I mean, if it seemed like there was like a big, like, okay, now it's time to revisit, you know, we might do another goal planning meeting. But really, you know, I'm pretty open to hearing from families and continuing to be responsive.
Yeah, I think it's so important because I know my son has cerebral palsy, but I know many, many families who have a child or children who are on the autism spectrum. And I just think that the needs of each child is so individual that having another layer of support for this big thing that you have to do, which is transition planning, is so just helpful. It helps give you a little more breathing room, literally. So I think, you know, it's important. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to take a few minutes to talk with me about it, because I don't know that many families know about the services you offer. So.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that. I've also come across it. Really, you guys do that? Yeah. so yeah, I'm thankful to you too for letting me share.
Well, thank you so much. And Dayna and I met in some meeting somewhere, and I was like, wow, she really knows her stuff. We got to get her on Transition Tuesday. So thank you very much. And I will post links in my blog that I do. And also, I usually stick them in comments on Facebook. And of course, if anyone has a question, they can reach out to me or you, and we'll do our best to answer.
Yeah, be sure to share my email if anybody wants to reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat more.
Great. Thank you,
Awesome.
Dana. Have a great
Thank
rest of your
you.
day.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.